In this video, I'm going to give you a few life lessons from the movie Enough, starring Jennifer Lopez. For those who forgotten or just didn't see it, here's a quick synopsis. After a whirlwind courtship, Slim, portrayed by Jennifer Lopez, finds herself in an abusive marriage to Mitch, played by Billy Campbell. Will she be able to outrun her obsessive husband, or will their story come to a fatal end? There's a lot to unpack, so let's get into it. Life lesson number 1. Don't let a fool be your hype man. In the opening scene, Slim tells Jenny that she's thinking about going back to school full time. In response, Jenny says, "And stop working here? I won't allow it." When Robbie comes into the diner with a rose proclaiming it's for Slim, even though he doesn't know her, Jenny tries to convince her to give him a chance. Robbie seems a little too slick. His act seems rehearsed. He even announces that he writes books when no one asks him what he does for a living. Yet, all Jenny sees is a cute guy with roses. He's clearly putting on a facade, and Slim doesn't trust him from jump. But a friend thinks that she should give him a shot. Before the deal is closed between Slim and Robbie, Mitch reveals that Robbie is a jerk and runs him out of the restaurant. Mitch walks out a few minutes later. It would be unfair to overlook all the times Jenny shows up for Slim and Gracie throughout the movie. I get why she considers her a friend. But Jenny's judgment is not to be trusted. Let's not forget, Jenny was at the wedding trying to hook up with Slim's ex-boyfriend from college, Joe. Now, it's Slim's wedding to a whole other guy, so she's not worried about what her ex is doing, or who he's doing for that matter. But it is a poor judgment call to go after a friend's ex, especially if they were serious about the person. Since Jenny has the judgment of a hot-in-the-pants teen, she doesn't see anything wrong with it. Like a horny teenager, she thinks every cute guy who feigns interest is worth the time. And Slim's willingness to follow her advice leads her astray every time. In each of these incidents, Slim's intuition tells her to go one way, but she allows Jenny to influence her to do something different. Be careful about allowing fools to be your hype men. Many of us have at least one good friend who's always up for a good time, ready to pop off if need be, and will gas you up whether you need it or not. You may even be able to depend on them to show up whenever you're in a clutch. But if this friend has terrible judgment, you have to be able to resist the hype. More importantly, you can't ignore your point of view and intuition following behind what they think is a good idea at the moment. Otherwise, you will be like Slim, knowing that what they're suggesting is not the move, but going along with it anyways. Just to be clear, I am not blaming Jenny for Slim ending up in an abusive marriage. Neither am I suggesting that you should drop your good friend. After all, this friend may have made your life richer in many ways. And I'm sure you've had more fun with them than you would have had otherwise. I'm simply suggesting that you not allow their hype to be louder than your gut. Comment below about a time you allowed your good friend to talk you into something that you otherwise wouldn't have done. Did you end up regretting it? Life lesson number 2. Be careful about dishonoring your gut. Mitch and Slim's relationship begins with him saving her from a disingenuous would-be suitor named Robbie by announcing it was all for a bet. Later in the movie, we find out that Mitch and Robbie are friends, and they've ran this scam on many women. According to Robbie, Mitch wasn't supposed to marry her. Of course, Slim doesn't know this, so after a short courtship, they get married. Oddly enough, it is at their wedding that she asks reassuring questions like, "Are you sure you love me forever and ever?" In response, he tells her that she is safe with him and it is okay to be happy. If you don't know that Mitch and Robbie are running a scheme on Slim, there are no signs of who Mitch truly is before the wedding, except for the slight distrust Slim shows when they first meet. With Jenny buzzing in her ear, it's easy to ignore. But just because her distrust isn't loud doesn't mean it should be overlooked. Keep in mind, the scam doesn't work on Slim. Instead, it works on Jenny, who convinces Slim to go after him. It is disappointing that we do not get to see their courtship play out. But the fact that she's asking reassuring questions at the wedding indicates that nothing that has happened up to this point has disproved her gut. She is smiling and appears to be happy at the wedding. But none of this means that she actually believes she is safe with him. So often, we will ignore our distrust of a person if we don't have reason or proof to back up that distrust. Especially if the person is incredibly charming, enough money is being spent, or good times are being had. These things often make us unable or unwilling to hear what our gut is actually telling us. But you don't need reason or proof for your distrust to honor it. I'm not saying that your gut couldn't possibly be wrong, but it is never to be completely ignored. You should always be willing to trust your gut. Comment below. Has your gut ever led you astray? Life lesson number 3. You have to be lucky to survive domestic violence. The abuse began when Slim had the audacity to confront Mitch about cheating, or more specifically, when she said she wasn't going to just sit around and take it. In response, he slaps, punches, and informs her that he makes the money and the rules. He then takes her keys, driver's license, and lets her know that he refuses to live without her. The next day, she seeks ways out of her situation by visiting his mother, her friends down at the diner, and the police. But his mother sees her face, apologizes, then asks, "What did you do?" Her friends have limited resources, and the police don't provide real solutions that will ensure the safety of she and her child. To evoke fear and weaponize Grace against Slim, Mitch picks Gracie up from school without telling her. After they've been gone long enough to make any mother worried, they return and Gracie announces how much fun they had at the zoo. Once Gracie has left the room, Mitch makes sure that Slim knows that he knows her every move. He says he's a determined man. He was determined to have her, the house, and the company, and he got them. He says he's the type of man who gets what he wants, and he still wants her. She can accept it, or she can fight it. Soon after, Slim packs a bag and comes up with a plan to leave. With the help of her friends, she and Gracie make it out by the skin of their teeth. But he chases them down at the hotel despite the fact that Jenny paid for their stay. He chases them from the hotel to a bus stop, and they barely make it on the bus, leaving him behind. From there, they fly to Seattle to stay with Joe, but fake FBI guys show up to his house threatening to kill him for helping them. She then goes to San Francisco to ask her father Jupiter for help, but he is an absolute jerk who claims he doesn't know her or believes she's his child. Since he refuses to help them, they end up living in a shelter. It is only when the fake FBI guys attempt to pull the same stunt on Jupiter that they pulled on Joe that Jupiter decides to help them. With Jupiter's help, she's able to get new identities, move into a house, and create some form of normalcy for she and Gracie. This works for a little while, but Mitch uses Robbie, who happens to be a detective, to locate them, then shows up to her house and attacks her. Between Gracie's help and the mace in Slim's watch, they manage to get away. But Robbie is waiting in the wings to pick up where Mitch left off. After evading Robbie's attempts to run them off the road, Slim puts into action another getaway plan. This plan includes another car, new identities, sending Gracie off to stay with Jenny for a while, and a lawyer. Once Gracie is gone, she uses that time to learn how to defend herself, something that Jupiter set up for her. It is not until she is able to defend herself that she confronts Mitch. Anyone who has seen this movie can get stuck at she went to Mitch's house with the intent to kill him. But look at all the things she did to ensure the safety of her child from the moment he hit her up until the end of the movie. She was a woman who didn't have a family. His mother was useless. The police weren't much help. And her friends did the best they could. But Mitch had more money and power than them. Realistically, if it was not for her estranged father, she wouldn't have made it out. And if it wasn't for Mitch's antics pissing him off, he wouldn't have helped either. If this movie doesn't show you anything else, it shows that you have to be lucky to survive domestic violence. When you consider how reactionary our justice system is, the fact that most abusers separate their partners from other people and resources, and the amount of time it takes for a person to decide to leave and stick with that choice, the statistics on how many people don't make it out makes a lot more sense. So the next time you look at an abused woman's story and say, she crazy, couldn't be me, consider what leaving truly means. Yes, there are resources and organizations out there to help these women. But if their abuser has more money, power, or is simply unstable enough to follow them around wherever they go, getting out is easier said than done. Now, I know someone's watching this thinking, did you like this movie? On a scale of 1 to 5 stars, I would give enough 3 stars. It's a relatively good ride. Jennifer does a good job portraying a woman who's fighting for her life. The movie does a decent job of keeping the stakes high and keeping the audience in anticipation of Mitch's next move. And it manages to give us an I am woman, hear me roar moment without making her opponent woefully weaker, something I especially appreciate. However, after a second look, I am really disappointed that we don't get to see their courtship play out. And I don't like that her success depends so heavily on the benevolence of her estranged father, especially since the average person doesn't have a wealthy relative, estranged or otherwise, hanging in the wings. Now it's your turn. Don't forget to share, subscribe, hit the bell, and or tell me your thoughts down in the comments. Did you like or hate the movie? Did you learn anything? Or was it just a good time?